Okay. Okay, so if anybody's in this already, I'd be impressed because we haven't given you the link, but we're testing out this chat. So Flando, you need to go down to that share button down by in stream, hit that, copy that. Control-C will copy for you instead of doing all that.
That's easy for me.
You need to go to the website. Go to the board. Go into my KSO Live thread right there. Go to the bottom of it. Say, and write, the chat is live right now. Click the following link to enter. Then put after it, hit a couple more spaces so people can see. Put we plan on doing this till about 8 o'clock. PM. And all answers will also be available in podcast form. Available wrong.
All right.
Okay, hit that. Somebody else posted it. Go up a little bit further. No, let's go down to this one post before yours. Okay, perfect. Oh yeah, he was at the last one. Okay, let's go back to the screen and get it all set up. We want it. We're still live right now. We just need DY to come take his spot. Wonder if I'll be able to see the chat that well from that far away. Yeah, this is good. What do you think, DY? What do you think?
I like it.
Okay. So we've shared the link on the site. We have somebody in here already. They can only come into this if they have clicked off the link on the site. On the right here, we'll be able to see the questions they ask within the chat. Okay. So that's how we're going to try to answer questions tonight, is we're off a reading there. We're going to test it out some, of course, to see. You might politely ask people, hey, we're getting too many questions too fast. So maybe slow down a little bit here and there. We'll just test a lot through it. So for whoever's in here right now, I sure appreciate it. We're going to be starting this for real at 7 o'clock. We'll record it like we're recording edition of the KSO show as well. We use a 2-for-1 on it. So if you're just talking like that, that's why. DY, I don't know if you should have shaved for this, man. I think you look nicer.
Yeah, it's a special occasion.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. So yeah, as you come in, this will be all based on user questions tonight. We have to train ourselves to stare at that green light as opposed to the screen, because that's where the camera would be making eye contact. So we should look at each other or the green light or the chat or Flanders or Peter or your phone. Guys, for those watching, we had 4 different picture options we're trying to decide between. We had that one, we had that one, we got that one, we got that one, that one. That one just doesn't show up as good in the light. And I think we've settled on either this one or this one.
Should ask him, make sure everyone can hear.
Can anybody hear us? If you guys can hear us, type a message in your chat that says hi or something like that, or be quiet would also be funny, because we know you hear us. But
shut up.
So shut up would be good. Yeah, if anyone can hear us and can throw a question in the chat just to help us out, we would appreciate it.
There's only one person.
There's only one person, so there's only one in here right now. So
we know you're failing us.
So if you can be that person to save us and throw a question in here, say I can hear you or can't hear you. That'll be good. I'm going to go and look at the site for a little bit to see if anybody said anything in that thread. Yeah, that would be helpful.
2 people. Can you hear us?
Oh, I could open up their own chat, I think, while I'm...
Two people.
Oh, there it is. They can hear it. So
Can you hear us?
there, look at
They
that.
put their own chat, I think, Juan. Two people.
That was weird because you could hear like 3 levels of the same thing being said. So
It works, Flanda.
it works, Flanda. We don't need you.
Too late.
Great. Great.
And
We'll
it
start
worked.
this in about 13 minutes. Appreciate anyone who's in here. Up to 5 people already. We could start a basketball team.
Yeah. Who wants to be point guard?
We could start a lot of things. Flando, do you want to say hi to the people? You want to come around and say hi? I'm sure they all want to see you. Oh, 2 people left since I said Flando.
Hey, people.
It's true.
It's true. Yeah.
It's
It
not
is
a-
what it is.
It's not an inaccurate statement. You want to see Flanda? Yeah. Well,
Yeah, well, we get.
I don't
Yeah,
blame
so,
you guys.
yeah. But I think this is gonna be a fun way to do this.
Show me coffee cup yet?
I could. Mine says, get it?
Mine says family tree is full of nuts.
Those halls and these coffee cups here, you never know what kind of thing we're gonna pull off in here. If anybody wants to test the chat function and ask us a question, it'd be appreciated if you're capable of doing so. I think on the right of your screen or somewhere on there, you would see a chat where you could ask us questions. We're just testing here until we get to about 7 o'clock, where we'll kick this thing off and hopefully have a whole heck of a lot of fun. Man, we could have been playing like
someone did say
Uh-huh.
they said I can hear you, but don't know where to type in the question. Sorry.
Flando. Could you maybe? I got to get my laptop.
Oh, it's because they're probably watching from the actual stream from the forum that it's on. Not actually in YouTube. You know?
Yeah, they're just watching the video. Not okay. We got plenty of time. We got 10 or 12 minutes till we start. So I'm gonna go see if I can figure it out.
You want to go post that in the thread, Flanda?
I'll post that.
Yeah, if you would say in that thread the whole show and kind of tell people this is what's
Yeah.
going on or not
Yeah.
going on,
And how to post questions.
which I don't know how to yet. So
That's the thing. Is
like it may be a thing where they have to not go to the link.
they have to click. They have to click the little title.
They have to click the little title.
In the video.
Okay.
Yeah.
The KSO Live
Mhm.
2419 video.
Yeah.
Okay.
To click that.
Casey Burke is here.
Hey, we got some questions. Hey, look at we got. a couple
We don't have questions.
Okay,
We
okay.
have people saying hi.
I mean, that's better.
Yeah. How's your evening?
Yeah. So I'm gonna type it too, even though you will Flando, but this may sound tricky, but you need to not just click the video play button, but actually click on the top corner where it says KSO Live 2419. Does that mess up the color too much? I could almost leave my laptop open even because I was worried if I had it open, it was going to mess up like our lighting. I feel like a baller for figuring out the link in like 2 seconds, man. Yeah, I mean, you did a nice job. You did a nice job of figuring this out. So appreciate everyone for being here so far. What time is it?
It's 6:50.
Okay, about 10 more minutes. We'll get this thing started up. I may need to move it a little bit closer to be able to actually see the questions still. But that's probably then too close. I don't like that as much, I don't think, but I can't see the questions as well. I feel like a baller for figuring out the link in like 2 seconds. I can see that pretty well. Got a hey from Chris Hansen. Burke. 54 is here. I can read that a little bit from here. I'm just trying to figure out if I can read the questions in the comments as well enough in this chat to answer them, but I think I can. Jeremy Crabtree with a thumbs up. I don't know if you heard Mr. Crabtree, but I went through like a 3 podcast binge of where I mentioned your Twitter and your business and stuff. Remember when I was doing that? Like people ask me, why do you keep advertising? I don't know. He's a good dude. I just keep like, yeah. I don't know. Yep. So those joining in again right now, you probably says 4 or 5 times. Starting at 7 o'clock, we're going to be recording an edition of the KSO show. That's going to double as our first ever KSO live on YouTube. We're going to try to answer everything exclusively off the questions you provide for us on the chat. Can you change your video to? Oh my gosh. Chris Hansen asks if we can change the video on our TV to a video of Corby Irvin dunking on Baylor in the Big 12 tournament. The greatest moment in K-State sports history. That was just before DY's time. I've showed him the video, but when there's no background to it, it doesn't really mean anything. But Flando understands how amazing that was. Thank you for the kind words, Mr. Crabtree. We appreciate it. We're gonna answer your questions off the chat tonight. You read that game, Burke? Oh my gosh, I was watching it in the basement when Corby threw that down, and I lost my mind. But we're gonna answer your questions off the chat. We're gonna do this for about an hour. We're not gonna set a hard time to close it. If it's 8 o'clock and this is wound down, we'll stop it. If it's going really well, we'll answer a few more. We're going to kind of test out how fast I can keep up with and answer questions in the chat. So maybe sometimes we tell you, hey, we're afraid we're getting behind, maybe slow up before you throw us another one. Derek will take a long time to think about things, so he'll need time to answer questions. You know how it is. But yeah, we're excited about it. We're gonna have a good time. A good time start here at 7 o'clock.
Kenrich Williams starting for the Pelicans tonight.
Is he really?
Yeah. In
How
place
about that?
of Solomon Hill. Makes you wonder if there was a trade made, though.
Ooh, could be. That'd be exciting if there were a trade.
Anthony Davis.
I know.
Oh, I did see. We should use this part to talk just about like NBA trade rumors until we actually start. Because did you see the Lakers upped their offer that they now included Ball, Ingram, Kuzma, multiple picks, and cap relief? Like they basically
Yeah,
gave
a few more players. I heard
Right.
it was almost their entire
they
team.
basically gave everything up, and I'm still not sure the Pelicans are going to take it. Like
They should wait for Boston.
yeah, they probably should.
Just to see if Boston will offer up Tatum. Boston's only going to offer up Tatum if they know Kyrie's going to come back.
Right. I mean, I think that's what they need, right? Is hey, TX is here with a thumbs up. This is a big room tonight.
The stars are out.
The stars are bright here. Gosh, we're talking about NBA trades. Oh, what happened? Oh,
Well, I could say this. Kenyon Reed was just offered by K-State.
how about that? The first example of breaking news on KSO Live is Derek Young tells you that Kenyon Reed, the corner from California, has been offered by K-State.
Can you look at my computer?
So, DY, you put your hand up my mouth when to stop talking at any point here. Ning Lu's here. What that would lead me to believe is K-State thinks it has a scholarship to give.
Bro,
Kenyon Reed.
and I think it has
If you
a
can
lot.
put two and two together there.
I think it has a lot to do with them feeling at this point that they're not going to get Gavin Potter.
Yep. So, hey, if you're one of the 12 people who's kind enough to come in here and watch this, you got that. We'll probably end up throwing it on the site here as well. We're not going to try to be a thing where this stuff's breaking on here instead of, on the website.
Flato's getting my computer.
Yeah, DY just literally looked at his phone and said, well, they're going to offer Reed. So, yeah, he's going to put that on the board. You're going to see some of the behind-the-scenes action's a strong word. We don't work that hard, but something like that. So we're looking here at 6:55 in 5 minutes. We'll get this started up. Appreciate everybody in here. This will be a bit of a trial and error. So if we realize we can't keep up with your questions, we'll ask you to slow down a little bit. If we realize we're really bad at this, we'll just turn it off and never do it again. But I think it's going to be a fun way to answer questions. And this isn't going to replace the chat on our site for people who are curious. Scott Wildcat, credit to him. We, for 3 weeks amongst the three of us, bounced around ideas of how to do this and how to be more interactive while not getting rid of the old written chats. And I think Scott finally said, why don't you just do a rolling 4-week deal where 1 week you do a YouTube live, 1 week you do a regular old chat, 1 week you do a mailbag type chat, and then 1 week you do a YouTube live that everybody can see, not just subscribers. And we're like, well, that's great. So I hope no one sees this and says, man, they're going to stop, doing any sort of written chat. That's not the purpose of this. But the thing that we sometimes don't love about chats is they don't feel super interactive. You'll ask a question maybe an hour before we get to it, and then we give you a response, and then you might have a good follow-up question that we don't see again for another 40 minutes. And that can sometimes be a little bit, not user-friendly. So we're going to try this tonight here starting in 3 or 4 minutes. If you missed what we talked about a second ago, we didn't intend to break any news on this, but Derek Young got a text a minute or two ago that K-State will be offering the corner from California Reed, which, is a signal that K-State believes it has a scholarship to give to him, which if you're reading between the lines, and Derek's putting it on the site right now, would suggest that Gavin Potter is likely not going to K-State, which we believe to be the case. So again, 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, we'll start this back up. This will also be recorded as a podcast because Flando is pretty good at technical stuff. So if you missed this, you come in late, you missed some questions, you feel like it wasn't a format that you got to catch on to, we'll have it all in podcast form that you'll be able to listen to, I'm sure, by tonight, late tonight, early tomorrow morning at K-StateOnline. Should I go like corny announcer voice? I'll do it the whole time. Welcome to KSO Live. It's our first shot at this. Love having you guys with us.
They can see you trying to do it.
That's true. That's true. On video,
forum.
you guys can see me being like stupid. So it's not as funny. That's a good point. Oh, it's weird. My dog's sleeping back there, for anybody who's wondering. But still about 2 minutes away from starting this thing up. 3 minutes, Flanders.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited, Flanders?
I'm tweeting about it right now to get.
We probably should have done that.
I'm doing.
Huh. I'll go.
I'll get it retweeted on the KSO account.
I was gonna say from the KSO account's the best.
Yeah, no one follows. You guys don't follow Flanders.
Nobody follows Flanders.
Nobody follows Flanders on Twitter. Right?
Don't do it either.
There's no reason.
Just kidding.
To it,
You should.
know?
Just kidding. Follow Flanders.
Follow Flanders at Grant Flanders.
He's a little funny. Not as
I
funny
tell you
as
what.
Mason both.
No, he's not as funny as Mason both. Can you imagine everyone around K-State wears the Lavenders, man? Yeah, my guess was, this is a pre-chat question, but it was good for practice. My guess was that they were, but some people who are pretty smart have suggested they're not going to wear them tomorrow. I've seen that lately in the last 5, 10, 15 minutes. Mine really was a guess. It was a somewhat educated guess, but it's not like someone told me off the record they're going to wear Lavenders. So if they aren't, it wouldn't. It surprises me, but it sounds like maybe they're not.
So what game would they wear them? If not KU? Oh, yes,
That's
we're
a
going to
really
start the
good
show
question.
again. We can make that
That's
a
true.
question.
Yeah, we'll make that. We'll get that. We're sorry. So you guys you're retweeting and everything. All right. Should the Lavenders be saved for Mauve Mondays? Ooh, that's a fancy word. Mauve Mondays,
I don't know what that means.
I don't really know what it means either. Like mauve's like a color,
I thought it had to do with Mac.
and mauve's like a kind of a pastel, right? You could tell us. Like this is a good thing about this chat function is as we're sitting here saying we don't know what that means. It's a great chance to say you guys are dumb. What Mauve Mondays means is this.
Yeah, it's a chat. We'll chat together.
Right. It's a two-way street. It's like whatever.
Well, it's 7:00. Let's get some questions.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and itch my head and we'll start this up. So Flanders, you're just going to keep an eye on that thread and help us out with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to count us down because we are going to be recording, like we said, in addition to this as the KSO show, basically a lavender purplish color, mauve. Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to count down so Flanders can know when to cut this off and we'll get started. So 3, 2, 1. Welcome to another edition of the KSO show. This one obviously a bit different. We have some people with us on YouTube live. Function we're going to start using a little more often for chats. We'll also record them as podcasts like this one is for the KSO show. Our host for this YouTube live and our show is Tallgrass Tap House in Manhattan. We were not there today. We will be on Thursday night. Hopefully you come out and see us. But before we get too much further, I want to introduce Derek Young. You guys all know him. We're going to have him break some news for you here in just a second. For those of you who weren't on while we were testing this out, appreciate Grant Flanders, who's off camera, for the work he's done putting this together. It actually took a decent amount of testing, working on the lighting. We know it doesn't look great. We have some plans for some different lighting, some different cameras, but we didn't want to wait until we had that to give you guys, a chance to do this. We're going to be looking for your questions on the right side of our screen. If we fall behind a little bit, we might ask you to slow down because that's entirely possible. But we want this to be all interactive. We don't want it to be a thing where it's us talking at you. We're going to read your questions. We're going to, answer them. If you don't like what we say or have a pushback, we're going to try to take some time to read it and say, okay, you were probably right, or just we'll ignore it and move on if we don't have a better answer. So before we get started here with answering these questions, Derek, if you just want to fill them in on what you put on the board and what you got on your phone 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, K-State, I'm hearing that they have offered corner Kenyon Reed of California. Of course, he's been a target for a few weeks now since, the dead period ended, and they were going to California, making a couple of visits out there to see him and other prospects. So they offered him. He took an official visit last weekend. UCLA is in the picture still, too, for him. So that will probably be a race up until signing day and depend on what the Bruins decide to do and, just where Reed's head at. I think Kansas State has a pretty good shot as of now. Not a lock. It's going to be an interesting 48 hours for him. And it likely means that, obviously they felt that a scholarship has probably been freed up in the last 24 hours. And I think that is probably a good answer to how they feel about their chances for linebacker Gavin Potter. I think he's slipped away at this point.
Yeah. Right before we start into, again, the questions, and I do want to make it all about your questions. Signing day is 2 days away. Derek just broke down those two guys. I think you all know, if you followed along, who to be watching for. But if you want to give us a quick rundown, what players to pay attention to as we get into signing day, then we'll start taking questions from the chat here.
Obviously, Reed and Potter were two of them. Obviously, there's another one. Defensive tackle Matthew Polomau out of Arizona. He visited this past weekend as well. I think chances seem very, very good in that regard. A few other guys will be defensive end Kenny Givens. He visited. He's the defensive end out of Chicago. He has not been offered yet, so that's probably what to look out for. And
interesting, we learned that Reed was a priority in that sense then too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Reed got the extra or the new offer, not Givens just yet. Offensive lineman Danielson Ike has also been offered. Took a visit this past weekend. Probably best to describe him as a silent commit to Oklahoma right now. I do not think that he reversed that word or give different word to K-State as of now, but I think that they're in the picture more than what was probably expected. And if he doesn't go their way, or they find out that he may not go their way, that might be the scholarship that could go to Givens at that point. And with Grayson already in the fold, I think that's it.
I think so.
I don't think I'm missing anyone. They could probably correct me if I
was going to say, if we have, they'll tell us. So we want that from you guys. We know there's a lot of people out there smarter than us who have things that we forget or miss, and don't be afraid to tell us on here. One note, as you guys, I think, understand, because you got here from our website, if you're worried about us sharing private, K-State information in this chat, the only way to get into this chat is through a link from our message board. So unless you're giving it out to people, there's only KSO members on this deal. We're not going to have this particular chat, available to be seen on our YouTube channel. That will be as a podcast. So there may be some things you ask us that we stop short on and answer on the message board or that kind of deal. If we don't think it's helpful to K-State or not fair for subscribers to have, out there for free when they pay for. But for the most part, for this first one, we're going to try to answer virtually everything you ask. I'm going to start asking questions now. A couple other notes. I may miss some. If I've missed it, please don't take it personal and just write it again. I'm not going to get annoyed if I see the same question 3 or 4 times. I'll just go through and answer it. And just don't take offense to it, because we're trying this out just like you guys. So I'm going to start with the question I see from TX. After we had to get, it's funny, it asks us to review some things if they think it's insensitive or wrong or that kind of stuff. And I thought house was a little bit dangerous of a word spelled that way. So I approved that for you, Ben, and we're going to go on to TX. So I'm going to ask Derek Young this one first, and we'll get mine. What true freshman running back do you think gets the most playing time next year? And for the fun of the question, let's assume Grayson's on the team.
Yeah, Grayson signs Wednesday. He'll be on the team, and that would also include Joe Irvin, Clyde Price. Of the three, I would lean towards Joe Irvin just because I think that he's probably the most college ready of the three, and Clyde Price probably would fit that description, but just because of the narrow, qualifying standards there. And I just think that Irvin's probably the most prepared to, make an instant impact.
I don't have a different answer. I could talk just to talk, but I think we'll have enough questions that I won't have to. So I appreciate that. I would say Joe Irvin the same. Let's move down to Will of the Woods. When I lean forward, I'm sorry, I'm an old man and I can't see this stuff as well. Did you guys see Les talking about Mangini? Thoughts? Is this some kind of 4D chest? I haven't. I've watched the entire Les Miles video from his speaking engagement the other night, and it was what people described it as. I haven't seen this, so if you want to tell us on here what exactly it is or what's going on, but I think Les Miles, Derek Young will tell you, he always was concerned with that hire from a Kansas perspective. I thought it had a chance to be a guy who could rebuild their talent base, at least to a point of winning 4 or 5 games, being competitive. But man, after seeing the first few public appearances, I think Derek was right, and Les Miles may struggle.
I'm going to guess that might have meant to say Mangino, and it's
he just added it for us. He called Mangino Mangini and had to be corrected by high school coaches. I mean, it's not the first name he's messed up, right?
Yeah, recently? I think he mispronounced the high school coach's name as well. So he is 40 chess is good. So Ning Lu says a lot of people were concerned about Chris Dawson returning. Have you heard from current players or staff regarding changes that strength and conditioning has undergone so far in winter conditioning? I'll just kind of give a generic answer and see if Derek has something different. I shared a similar concern. I think both of us did without putting words in his mouth. I was surprised that he came back, and I was a little concerned because I do think he was seen as a bit of the bad guy in the eyes of some of the players last year and in previous years under Bill Snyder and that kind of staff. As far as changes, I can't really speak to that. I know Derek has been told some specifics on that. Maybe he can share with you. But I will say I do think players, from what I've understood, have accepted it. I think they understand a little bit that, and this is not to knock Bill Snyder, but that everybody who worked for Bill Snyder worked for Bill Snyder. And what Chris Dawson was doing
was an all Chris Dawson, like any assistant under any head coach in college football, not just Bill Snyder. And I think I'm getting the sense they're somewhat willing to understand he may do some things differently and look at him as another guy. But I was surprised by it too. But I think Derek can share some specifics with you about some of the workout stuff.
I was surprised and I was concerned. It's probably dissipated some. I think the best description I've got of the experience in the strength and conditioning program under Dawson so far up to this point is that they're still working hard. It's still grueling. It's still tough, but that they would describe it as a little bit smarter than it was originally.
Another one here, Will of the Woods, and I hope I'm saying it right. If I'm not, you tell me. I'm going to ask this to DY first, and then again, I'll jump in if I think I have a different answer. But he's Marcus Garrett, of course, out for Kansas. As he says, big news, maybe the Jayhawks' best defensive player. He sees Marcus Garrett's out against Kansas. What would be the K-State equivalent of him sitting out? So if you're a K-State fan, how would you say, man, them losing Garrett's like K-State losing blank?
Oh, man, that's tough. Maybe X.
Sure.
And I know people would probably say Barry Brown because they get compared defensively. But when it comes to someone that KU is, a ton better defensively when Marcus Garrett is on the court, but an argument could be made this year that they're better when he's offensively when he's not on the court. And right now, I think Xavier Sneed is probably the best description of that for K-State.
I think it's perfectly fair. It's the best answer. If I was going to give a different one, I'd say Mac Maween, a guy who I think is a very good defender. Garrett's offensive game has improved, maybe more than Max has, but I think somewhat similar. It's a big loss though, because we tried to talk through how K-State matches up. How KU matches up with K-State man-to-man, and it's tough to see, with Garrett out of the game. So I wonder if we won't see more zone. Also, of course, hurts their depth. So that's a big deal. I was going to have to scroll there, but I think it moves automatically for me. I'm going to move down to the next one from TX. He says, and this is helpful to add in, it kind of just goes into a bit of what DY talked about, that he's heard the players like Dawson and perhaps he was hamstrung a little bit by the previous staff. Have you heard the same? To an extent, yes.
Yeah. That's probably yeah. I will say I don't know. I don't think all of them felt like he was hamstrung. I think there was a little bit of personal resentment there, at least at one point, but I don't think that it is shared really anymore.
Right. What will be the defensive assignments tomorrow night? This is from Scott McFarland on here. Hope it's okay that I said the whole name. That's how it showed up on here. Will KU follow suit, or will they match up differently when we have the ball? So a great question. Let's assume they're not going zone, even though we all think, and K-State thinks too, that KU is going to play some zone where it's 2-3, 3-2, 1-3-1. K-State expects some junk defense. We talked about it with them today, whether it's triangle, 2 box and 1, whatever. So let's get that out there. We all understand that's going to happen. If you're looking man-to-man, though, we'll start, with Lawson. I think we both agree you put Mac on him. Even though the foul trouble could come early, I don't think you start with Dean on him. I think you can start with Mac on him. You probably put Dean on, it was going to be Garrett, but maybe now it's Abaji. I know he's a good athlete. I know he's a good shooter. I don't know if he's yet somebody who's going to put the ball on the floor and destroy you with that. So maybe you use Dean or Xavier Sneed on him. You move to LaGerald Vick. You probably put X there. At least I would. Or you could do Barry Brown, but I'd probably do X. I'd probably put Barry on Dotson, even though there's a big size mismatch there. I think taking Dawson out of a position to attack the basket and really hurt K-State that way makes a big difference. And then I throw Cam on Grimes. And I know people are going to say Grimes is way bigger than Cam, but Grimes doesn't use that height. He's not going to go take Cam down in the post and make a difference. He can shoot over Cam, and if he makes those, he makes them. But that's the way I'd match it. I'd match up. Although I don't know, DY, we were talking some. Would you prefer going small as a predominant lineup against this KU team, or that big one with Mac in there?
You were kind of talking me into it because that really throws.
I do. I believe it too.
Because it really puts Lawson in a bind.
Right. I like going small and putting Cardi in there. I'm the biggest Mac fan probably around. We'll make fun of me for it, kind of off the air here. But I think there's a chance going small makes it tougher for them and forces Lawson to either guard Dean, which is not good for him, or Cardi, which could be bad for him, as well, depending what they want to do.
Probably should roll the dice and have him guard Cardi until he proves he can do something on the offensive end.
Absolutely. Moving down to question, any word on a new DN coach? I think DY he can't give you specifics, but we've talked about, a little bit you can share perhaps on this. It may not be forever, right?
Yeah. When we say we can't do specifics, it's because I don't know the specifics.
Right. He's not he doesn't know who it is and is keeping it.
No, I don't. I haven't even given any group of names or anything. I just know that people that would know feel like it's going to happen fairly quick.
Yeah, well said. Let's move on to the next one from Will of the Woods. Oh, thank you for clearing that up. Quick break. This is from Ning Lu, who we missed in Frisco, and I sincerely do apologize. You were great about it. Quick break from the serious questions. Matt would be challenging Hazelton to do a beard off. Derek's not. I'll tell you that much. You're not challenging anybody to a beard off except for your own beard. It would take serious dedication to compete. Do you have it in you? I think I do. Like, I think I have it in me. My beard genetics are not good enough is part of the problem. Like, I mean, if you get closer, you can see it's pretty thin. And then I think Nats would be a real pain about it. Right, guys? Like, she's not going to watch this ever. I can say that. I'm pretty sure. So no, I probably won't. And he'd probably beat me. Let's jump forward to TX again. DY, the football recruit that you're most excited about. Who you got?
Ooh, right away.
I know.
That's a tough.
You give him a couple, you know?
Khalid, I don't know why, but Khalid Duke's
Nats is in here.
Khalid Duke's always jumped up to me just because I think he's an incredible athlete, and he just hasn't really scratched the surface yet of his football, what he can do on a football field. So that's really going off the radar there, picking Khalid Duke. It's a tough question. Geez. Well, how about you fill some time in here?
Okay, exciting recruit. I mean, it's tough because like DY, I'm naturally wanting to go back to the Keenan Garbers, those types, James Gilbert, those types, when really I feel like that's old news is the wrong term, but I feel like the question more means about maybe this new era of commitments in the new period. So I don't know, Clyde Price, I think getting a kid they wanted in Kansas City, the first guy that Chris Kleiman wanted to go see right after he was hired, a guy with some positional versatility. I don't know. I'm not saying he's the best prospect, but I think making a statement in Kansas City, getting a kid you clearly wanted, a guy who could play at two positions they're not very deep at right now. He comes to mind, at least for me, out of the newer commitments who have yet to sign.
Yeah, and I guess two more that came out to me. I like William Jones' speed, the corner out of Texas. He's probably one of the fastest player in this class. And when you say one of, and it's up for debate, it shows you the kind of speed that they're adding, because Thomas Grayson, man, he can really run too. And if they add Kenyon Reed, he can really run. And then I think a lot of people,
of course.
Yeah. Well, he told, or he's might be running a 4.4, a little under for young blood. So that's something that's real strong speed wise. And then Matthew Polomau. I mean, if they get him a defensive tackle, I think that's a load, and probably someone that looks the part of defensive tackle that you haven't seen in the past couple of years. Because even Will Geary was a great player, a 3-year all-conference player, I think. But he didn't look like, some of the beastie defensive tackles that you see, make it to the next level.
I think this really leads us into our next question pretty well. So I appreciate you guys for asking questions that have good transitions between the two. Ben asks you, what needs to happen on signing day? Any names in particular that are crucial going into Kleiman's first season? So obviously the question is well written as is, but what are a couple of names that would be, big signings to happen or would change your perception of Chris Kleiman going into his first season?
Probably just winning some really tough recruiting battles, because I don't think any of the guys between now and signing day that they would sign are going to necessarily have an impact in the first year. So it would be like a recruiting battle that just kind of wows you that they win. And in that regard, Danielson Ike, really, if you can take down Oklahoma and win out for him, that's one that would make sense. And then landing Matthew Polomau would be another. So those two would kind of make sense in that regard, because I don't know that there's a player that they're going to add between now and Wednesday that makes me change the perception of how they're going to finish in the first year.
Same for me. But a couple of names like he talked about, that would be just good signs and good players to add to the program, but nobody that is going to like, for me, significantly change the course of next season, at least in my opinion. Appreciate the questions. There's a number more for us to get to, but they're going at a good pace. So we're behind 5 or 6 questions, but that's okay. So don't be afraid to keep adding them in there. Appreciate that. Going to move forward to Morgan Anderson. I already pre-read this and I don't want to admit the answers. I'll make Flanders answer it first. Flanders, you can yell from the side like the Levitard Show background guy. Have you watched Raw or Delirious yet from Eddie Murphy?
No.
Yep, none of us have. So no good excuse. We have not watched it. Maybe tonight, but I say that and I'll probably let you down again. So I don't even know what to say. A more serious question above that. Do you expect another B-ball Scully to open up this year? It's a really good question. My short answer is yes. I don't know who, I don't know how necessarily, but I think K-State's looking at enough kids from 2019 that I think they expect to get one open one way or another. And I believe K-State will add another player probably for 2019. And maybe I'll watch Eddie Murphy too. So let's go on. Nats did chime in. Appreciate having you here. Chris Hansen. He wants to talk about football and basketball recruiting for 2020 a little bit, like a primer. Oh, they're asking us if we want to. So let's do that. So why don't you cover 2020 football a little bit, just a little primer, what to look for in that class. And then I'll talk about 2020 basketball a little bit when we get to that.
Football is going to be a big class because they have a lot of seniors for the 2019 season that they'll be looking to replace following that season. So if I would say the two big things to cover would be how big this class is. They're going to sign at least 25. I think they might even sign over 25 in that class if they have the room. And my guess is they might have that room. And then just the local recruiting. I think that's going to be a big part of it. How many of these kids in Kansas can you get? I think you've offered 7 in-state prospects now. How many can you land? And I think they're definitely going to get over half. And can they get all of them? That's a tall task. And it's probably smart money to say they won't get all 7, but that would be a remarkable achievement if they can. And that's something that obviously they're going to strive for. And that doesn't even count, the Kansas City Metro kids on the Missouri side. So they feel like there's plenty of prospects in the class of 2020 within like 2 hours that can make a difference for them going forward. And that can help your recruiting out if you value prospects that highly that aren't very far, because that doesn't happen often for K-State. And that's also not taking into account a few that they've already offered in Omaha. And another thing is, I think that they want to recruit out west. Part of the recruitment in January that kind of took me, I wouldn't say took me aback, but kind of surprised me is how much they recruited in California. They sent 3 coaches to the state of California alone in the month of January. Colin Klein, Van Malone, and of course the guy that'll be his primary area is Mike Tuiasosopo. So interesting how far and wide that they're going to go for recruiting, and then just what they decide to do again at running back, because there's a chance that they're going to double up again at running back. They could double up again at quarterback. It's going to be interesting how they approach each position, and should tell us, following the 2020 cycle, I think we'll know just how many players they want on the current roster at each position. And I don't think that's something that we're comfortable with or absolutely know at this point.
I'm not going to do nearly as good job on basketball. I looked at him over and over again thinking, I wish you'd stop, so mine doesn't sound so bad. Anyway, they're going to have, as it stands right now, 3 scholarships to give. In college basketball, that changes all the time but as is, they have 3 juniors, I believe, on the roster: McCall Wayne, Xavier Sneed, Austin Trice. If I'm forgetting somebody, just throw it at me. But I think they have 3 to give. I know 2 players that they love and are going to be, I think, targets throughout the process will be Luke Kasubke, I believe is how you pronounce his name, out of St. Louis, somebody I talked to a little bit in the last week. I know they have very sincere interest in him. They like him a lot. The interest is mutual. I think he's really looking at K-State or Xavier right now. Kobe Clark, another large point guard at Vashon. They listen at small forward. I think K-State thinks he's more of a 2 or a point. He's 6'6", 6'7", not Cameron Fletcher, who's the star on that team, who K-State will continue to recruit, but it's going to be tough going to get him. I think he's going to end up probably elsewhere, to be quite honest. But those are 2 guys I'll be looking at: Cameron Clark, Luke Kasubke. Ben Carlson's a name you'll hear a lot through this process. I talked with him in the last 2 weeks. He still has sincere interest in K-State, wants to get here for a visit. I talked a little bit on the board today about a recruit from Columbia, South Carolina for 2019 who they're looking at. There's a 2020 teammate he has that's been posted on Twitter and elsewhere a little bit that we'll look at him. But it's not early. It's not too early to talk 2020 recruiting at all. But those are the names that I'm really looking at would be Kasubke, Clark, Carlson to an extent. There'll be more of the names we haven't heard yet that, of course, become factors in 2020.
Something that I probably left out for the football side.
He has more.
Well, I think I left out perhaps the number 2 storyline for the class of 2020, linebackers, right? They're going to lose 4 or 5 this following season.
Yeah.
They're probably going to miss on Potter. So the only one in this class is going to be Khalid Duke. Levi Archer's moved to the secondary. We talked about running back in this class. I think the biggest probably point of emphasis in the 2020 class is going to have to be linebacker.
Absolutely. Just as much like you said, running back this year, linebacker in 2020, because a lot of upperclassmen in that group. Let's see here. Some talk between Nats and Scott about The Bachelor. Take that elsewhere. Andre asks, Bruce, who blew up at his interview today, what happened with that? Good question. I'm happy to talk about it. I blew up. I mean, I think people in the room felt like he blew up. To me, it was a guy just talking a little bit. Long story short, Bruce gets questions every press conference, from reporters, of course, asking about zone offense and that kind of stuff. And Bruce answers it every time. And a reporter opened up a question today, and I don't want to misquote him, but more or less telling Bruce, I think he said, hey, Bruce, you said last year you didn't practice or expect the zone against Kansas. And Bruce stopped him. And Bruce did get agitated. His face got red, his voice got louder. And I think what Bruce said to him was, hey, you guys watch a lot of basketball. Do you really think, that we don't talk about zone offenses or prepare for zones? And I think Bruce was trying to tell the guy, and I talked to him after. He's a good guy, good reporter, Greg Woods, perfectly fair question. But I tried to say, hey, man, he wasn't mad at you. He was just trying to say, like, you guys have common sense, right? Like you watch basketball, you understand that when I say we didn't expect the zone, it doesn't mean that I literally told our guys there's no way they're going to play zone. We're not going to work on it. I think Bruce just showed a little, and Bruce had a lot of fun today at the presser too. I thought it was not a tense presser. There's a lot of joking around with Cam Stokes, Barry Brown, Dean Wade, Bruce Weber. There was joking afterwards too. It was not a tense presser, but in that moment, I think he just wanted some people who watched K-State play from the media perspective to understand that some of the things he says aren't 100% literal. And I think that's what it was about. And it was fine after that. But did you feel anything different about that? You got anything else you can add? Were you scared?
Well, I'll be honest. I was working on something different.
Right.
I was in the back of the room covering recruiting, and it just made me perk up a little bit because he did raise his voice. He got really red.
Yep.
So it drew attention. We'll put it that way.
It sure did. It absolutely did. Morgan says he's going to keep I assume it's a he. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but he's going to keep asking about Eddie Murphy until we watch it. Flando could be tonight. He's not. Flando's just texting his girlfriend the entire time. We've asked him, so it's fine. He's doing a great job. I noticed that we were asked for our address for some old Brown stuff. I don't really fear giving out our address, but it's my house. I mean, so maybe if you really want to, I'll give it to you. Flanders, what do you want to say?
People are still kind of trying to figure out how to ask questions. You can maybe say, hey, click on the, I'm typing it in here too. If you're watching and say, hey, click on the title of where the video is and we'll take you to the chat first.
Yeah. So if you didn't hear Flanders off camera, if you're watching this, but you're not trying to ask questions, you don't see a chat, you just see us talking in a screen. You're like, I can't ask a question. On the top left of your screen, there would be a little deal that says like KSO Live 2419. If you click on that, it's going to take you out of just your media viewer and put you in a more traditional page that lets you see chat questions. So if you're having problems with that, if you don't see that deal on the top left of your screen, back out, go back and look at the thread on the foundation. On the top left, you'll see that in white letters. Click on that and you'll go into a screen that looks more like a chat than just a video. So I'm glad Flanders brought that up. And I'm glad we got to that. So let's move on. Oh, ask about the Brown stuff. We're all Team Browns here at KSO. That's all of our secondaries team.
So if you have my Browns,
if you have any Browns junk you want to send us, like we'll wear it. It's the one thing we can kind of pretend to agree on at least a little bit. So let's move past some of this Bachelor stuff. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit behind, probably 7 or 8 questions, but we'll be on it. TX asks, what football coach do you believe will be the best recruiter going forward? DY, pick one. We're on the spot here. TX wants one. Who will be the best recruiter going forward on the football staff?
I'm going through them right now.
I can answer right away. Connor Riley will be the best recruiter on the staff for K-State. That's my answer. DY, you're up.
I think it's down to 3. And I'm not trying to take the easy way. I'm just letting you know.
But you are.
It would probably, for me, I'm thinking Jason Ray, Connor Riley, Van Malone will probably be their, I won't say 3 workhorses because they're all pretty well apt to getting on the road and doing that. In terms of most effective, those 3 really stand out. Of course, Colin Klein too. Him and Connor Riley as a tag team in Kansas City should be pretty lethal. If pressed, man, picking favorites and hope they're not watching here. I would probably say be Connor Riley.
Okay, we both said Connor Riley.
Or Malone.
Or maybe Jason Ray. We are, what's the word? If we were a radio show right now, we would say all the lines are full. Our screen is actually past where we have questions for. So if we can get a minute or 2 where we don't get a question, I would sure appreciate it as I try to catch us back up. We'll go a little faster on these. So from Scott, question for DY. What brought the change that led to the staff to go out west? We had kind of both heard they were not that interested in recruiting California. Do you know of anything specific that changed or just more or less why they're going out west now with some of this recruiting?
I don't have a great answer, but I think when you want Tuiasa Sopo on your staff, you're kind of setting yourself up to do that.
Right.
I don't know. That's an easy answer. It might be that simple. It might not, but that's the only answer I have.
Yeah, it might be. Maybe he was somebody at the time they didn't necessarily plan on having him on staff when they brought him in. If his biggest strength's recruiting out there, why would you not alter your plan a little bit and go recruit out there? So I think it could be that simple. Ning Lu asks, with Seiler leaving, how much does it hurt not having someone intimately familiar with Big 12 offenses on staff? He mentions Van Bloom was the OSU, but quite a while ago. There's probably, I'll ask Derek this too, but I'll answer this one first because I pawn them all off on him when they're tough. It hurts, a little bit. It takes away some of that pre-scouting you already have on those teams. For a basketball reference, the staff always talks about they use the same guys for the scout because they already have knowledge of those teams and it's easier. In football, when you lose that, don't have anybody with knowledge of it, it does make it a bit more of a challenge. But again, like the recruiting question above, I don't know if it's game-changing or going to cost them a game or win them a game. It will take away some advantage they could have. But on the flip side, I could come back and say now no one in the Big 12 has any knowledge of anyone on K-State's defensive staff. Maybe they knew something about or offensive staff too, of course. other than calling Klein, but he's not calling the plays. So doesn't help, but overall probably a wash considering they have no advantage with K-State either.
Yeah, I would probably have a similar answer to that. I just think that they probably have a little bit extra work in terms of preparation because there's not some built up over time, but also, we're talking about Big 12 offenses here, and I don't know exactly who's the new offense coordinator at all these schools, but there's also 3 other new coaches. So the offenses aren't going to be the same across the board anyway.
Well said. Morgan asks, no, this is Andre, I apologize. And if you guys aren't noticing, I'm not going to mislead you and lie to you. I'm not sure how you're picking your names to come in here. It may be based on your YouTube account. It may be based on your sign-in. But if you're on the site and then signing in here, it may be using your real name. So if you don't want me to use your real name, I respect that, but you'd have to you have to jump out and change the setting probably in your YouTube not to use your real name. Anyway, Andre asked what Bruce's go-to recruiting pitch is. To be quite honest, I don't know the answer. I know what some of the other coaches, how they give their message. How Coach Lowry does, how Coach Frazier does, what they talk about. But I don't think there's what's the word? A one-way catch-all that Bruce likes to sell things. And I would say the same for Kleinman. Like, we know some of the things he likes to say, but I don't know what his go-to pitch is. I'm going to go a hair faster, again, because I'm a little behind on your guys' questions. I don't want to be behind for you guys. Next will be from Morgan. I'm going to ask this to DY. Was the coaching staff upset with Potter's decision to stop into Lawrence after leaving K-State? Was it last weekend or 2 weekends ago?
It was
either way. Do you think the staff was
2
upset
weekends ago, and I didn't get the impression that they felt. I think they were surprised by it. I don't think they had knowledge of it, to my understanding, but I do not think that they took it personal or PO'd at it or anything of that sort. I just think it caught them off guard.
Well said. Neilio says, "Hi, fellas. Hi, it's good to have you here." With K-State most likely losing out on Potter's commitment, something we talked about earlier, which we do believe to be the case, could you see us recruiting Malik Berry as a potential linebacker? I sure could. Different classes, of course, but like DY said a little bit earlier in the chat, linebacker is going to be a huge position of need next year. You lose Potter if you don't replace him with a number at the same position in this class. It makes it more important. I think DY would tell you Malik Berry probably is a linebacker. It depends what word choice you want to use, but yeah, I would say yeah.
I think he's a linebacker. I know the linebacker safety hybrid spot that they're going to use has been thrown around for Berry too, and not sure he's even that. I think he's a traditional linebacker.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I love Malik Berry. We joke about that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a legitimate 3-star kid. I think when more people see him, I love his size, I love his leadership, but his athleticism, yeah, he's not a safety, he's not a nickel, he's a linebacker. But if you want to use the term nickel as that nickel linebacker who's really playing against the run, what I'm talking about, yeah, I think he's a linebacker. I think it's good. Will of the Woods, this made me chuckle. If you see me chuckle, it's because I read some questions ahead and laugh at them. If K-State wins tomorrow, is it a 1 or 2 DVD set or a Blu-ray special? There's a lot of fun jokes that K-State makes a lot of DVDs for kind of regular season wins. I remember buying a K-State shirt for a regular season win over KU and Allen in 2004. It's just a joke. Maybe they throw a VHS for this. Maybe you get all 3. Maybe you get a VHS, you get a DVD, you get a Blu-ray, maybe a calendar.
What would the title be?
What would the title be? Hang that banner in big letters, and then in small italics, the mid-season edition. So mid-season Big 12 champs with a win over Kansas. I would wear that shirt.
Or how about one and not done because they're going to do it again.
Right. Yeah.
Next month.
Sweep set up, something like that. All sorts of things you can do. This is from Burke. Right back into it. Picks for tomorrow's game. I don't mind doing that on here. I think we can count these as
Cats.
official. We both say Cats. I think K-State will win too. If you want us to break it down briefly, I look at it like this. Kansas is the better team, but they're not a significantly better team. K-State's a 1-point favorite tomorrow. Kansas won't have Marcus Garrett. They won't have Azubuike, of course, is out for. They won't have Sylvia DeSosa. They're down, 3 contributors. They haven't had 2 for a while. Garrett just is new. I understand that, but so they're not going to be as deep as K-State tomorrow. They're not significantly more talented. They're not at home. They haven't played well on the road. They could win the game because they're Kansas and they're a very talented team. But the only real analytical reason for me to pick Kansas would be because of past history and the name on their jersey. The 2 teams on the floor, if they play a basketball game without taking other stuff into account, K-State will win the game at home. So I take K-State. It'll be very close. Wouldn't be surprised at all if Kansas wins. But I'm going to take K-State probably in the range of 66, 61, 65, 59, something like that.
I'll be that guy. I kind of pick K-State because I want K-State to win at this point.
Well, there's that too.
So I guess I'm biased now, and it's probably going to answer a question later down the line. If for KU to win, they have to shoot substantially better than K-State. I just don't think that happens tomorrow night.
Yeah, and it's well said. If KU shoots the lights out against anybody, they're going to win. But you can say the same for K-State. You know, that's the thing, is that's when you realize you have a defense mechanism and you're fighting against yourself. You can say the same thing for K-State. If K-State shoots lights out, they win by 20 tomorrow. If KU shoots lights out, they could win by 15 or 20 as well. They're very similar teams, in my opinion.
Both shoot the way they did the last game.
I'd take the home team, but that'd be awfully entertaining if they both shot at that rate, at the pace KU likes to play out with the positions they want. That'll be fascinating too. If you haven't read KSU Fans Breakdown on the site, he titled it, I think, Squawk Preview OOD Edition, something like that. But he explains to you the differences in pace and how fast they play and turnover rate, and those are things that can really impact the game. I'm skipping down a little bit. TX asks, any superstitions you will pull out for the game tomorrow? I don't think so. The only superstitious thing I was doing, DY, this year was somebody complained about the green font in the KSO Game Center during the West Virginia game. I changed it to purple at that point. K-State has not lost a conference game since, so I'll stick with that. But other than that, man, I had some socks I wore at the NCAA tournament last year, but I haven't used them this year as much. I don't want to pull them out for this because who knows how to work. But nothing for me. I'm
not a superstitious guy. What about you, Flanda? No, nothing for Flanda.
Are you even a little stitious?
Maybe.
Someone has to make that joke anytime they say superstitious.
I laugh at that joke. So.
I think it's really, really funny. Let's move on a little bit. Will the Wood says this: the saltier fan base after the loss, KU or Kansas State? KU.
You think so?
I think KU. I think KU because they are going to play up you're probably going to win because we're on the road and Garrett's out, and if you can't beat us now, when do you ever beat us? That's what they're going to say before the game as their defense mechanism. That's what their fan base has. And then when they lose, though, it'll be all out. No Garrett. The officials are terrible in Bramlage. You can only beat us when it's over. I think they're going to be – K-State fans will be super angry if K-State loses. But if you're asked about salty, like annoying, bitter, give me KU.
Oh, I guess I was thinking of the – just with the backlash of the loss. And I think K-State fans' backlash would be probably – a little more intense from a loss than KU's, just because KU is going to play up the without Garrett card. Right,
absolutely. DY, I'll let you answer this how you want. Again, this is a hidden video. You can only see it at the K-StateOnline on the foundation, but the pod will be free. So it's a recruiting question. You can answer how you want. Simply ask Chris Hansen, best guess on Turner Corcoran, commitment, timeline, and choice. Give him all the details that you can, if any, on Turner Corcoran.
Yeah, I'm going to be careful a little bit because I don't want everyone that pays to have the information that they pay for to be out there for easy consumption. So I will just say that more and more I'm starting to believe, based on what I'm hearing, that he will probably make a decision before this summer.
There you go. I mean, that's coming up. Chris Hansen, best get. Oh, no, that's Andre Napier. I apologize. What percentage of carries do you think Harry Trotter will get this season? I thought that was interesting. He'll get some, though, right? I mean, we've heard he's had a good offseason. If you look at the backs they're going to have on the roster, let's think through this mathematically. They're going to have Irvin. They're going to have Price. They're going to have Grayson. They're going to have Gilbert. They're going to have Burns, who's on walk on, but he's a scholarship type back, and they're going to have Trotter. So that's 6. So if you have 6 guys with equal carries, you're already down to getting 15, 16, 17% of the carries. So that'd be the high level for Trotter. He's probably not going to get equal carries to them. I don't know. Give me 8%.
I was going to say 9.
Okay, 9%. That's already been answered. You don't have to worry about Harry Trotter's carries next year. DY, is K-State growing on you?
Yeah.
It's actually sincere. I can tell that it is. So let's move on a little bit. Sorry, guys. This is that awkward me catching up to your questions. I'm going to ask if I missed one. I'm sorry. Come back and throw it again. I'm at Ron Preston. With football scholarship numbers filling up, what do you hear on preferred walk-ons? Anything on preferred walk-ons, DY?
They've already added a few. The Miles Livingston from Emporia, Trey Eaton, the offensive lineman from Olathe South. We'll get more, I think, certainty on who exactly will be when it comes on signing day Wednesday, because I think there's, plenty of kids in the state of Kansas that are trying to decide whether or not to walk on at K-State or to take other opportunities. For example, I believe, by the time you hear this, or maybe it's already happened, I got word today, the Nick Davenport, is it El Saline?
Yep, El Saline.
El Saline, the quarterback there. Probably would play, in the linebacker or in the secondary for K-State as a preferred walk-on. I think he instead is going to, make his way at Butler first, Butler Community College. I think he wants to go to JUCO and see what, he can do there to see if he can expand his options, or maybe, get an offer, a real scholarship offer at some point. But, I'm missing a few. I know they've already got commitments from a few of the preferred walk-ons, but I can't remember all of them, but I think we'll definitely probably have a list on the site, as soon as Wednesday.
Well said. Appreciate that, DY. It's about 7:35, 7:36 right now. We're going to go until about 8 o'clock, about 20, 25 minutes more of this. Again, if you're just now tuning in, if you've missed anything, Flanders will have this up as a podcast tonight, probably on our Podbean and on KSO, of course, so you won't have to miss anything there. We'll get back to everything that we missed before we close out, too. Let's move on to the next question. This is from Andre. When is the next time Bill Snyder, I assume, talks to a K-State Kleiman football team? Man, I don't know.
I think I'll take a guess here. I don't think it's going to be as quick as what some people just automatically think it's going to be. I think you do prefer a little separation if you are that new head coach and you don't want that conversation to start to creep in. But I think he may let them, or no, I say let, but I think he may have Coach Snyder talk to the team and, the week of the KU game.
I would think that, hey, that's a great answer. I was going to say it's similar. I think it's going to be a while. Like, I don't say this to be, cryptic or cruel, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it does, Kansas would make a lot of sense. He had such a great, and he's had a great history against a lot of teams, but that was a team he dominated at a historic level. It meant so much to him and to people, at K-State. I think one of the more underrated wins that people will look back probably years from now and appreciate is that KU won in Manhattan this year to make sure that Bill didn't lose them in the last, his last time against them. That'd make a lot of sense. If that's what it ends up being, DY, I think it'd be pretty good. I'm going to scan down here a little bit. I saw a couple of things that made me smile. I'm just going to read off comments. Scott said, this is in reference, I'm sure, to the salty question. It will be KU if K-State students rush the floor if they lose.
That's
Otherwise,
true.
It would be K-State. You're
might
right. God forbid these kids run on the floor and bump into, Quentin Grimes or anything like that. Let's not have that happen. Morgan Anderson asks, are you drinking coffee or is it coffee? This is actually coffee.
Real coffee.
I'm not above doing something else on one of these. Like, I'm not too cool for this. I don't take it that serious.
It's not even Bailey's.
But it's just regular coffee. But maybe next time we do that. Funny note, I'm going to, this be a little bit of a, what is that? Like a brag or whatever. We met some of the coaches. We met them all except for Brian Anderson today. We met him in Derek. I think maybe you had met him before, but you went and introduced yourself. I did too. Brian Anderson and Coach Lowry are close. They're friends. And he hollered back, are you the one who has coffee with Chris? And I said, I sure do. So
humble brag.
Humble brag. I mean, I can't help it. Maybe we'll get breakfast with Brian sometime.
Was that off the
just
cuff?
Came off. Yes, it's off the cuff. It's what we do, Let's move on a little bit here. I'm looking again after coffee. Who designed the KSO logo and all your graphics? They look nice. Rivals did. When this all started off, we picked the name of our site, and then we picked the name of the podcast, which was a funny story that I know Jeff and I told in the past. But Jeff and I and Natalie stood around in this living room here for an hour tossing out different names for the podcast for our website. And then
KSO show.
And then I randomly, because we kept saying the KSO podcast, we had 100 different ideas. We didn't like any of them. Finally said, well, what if we use the word show instead of podcast? And as soon as I said show, we said, oh, KSO show. Sounds great. And we stopped. But Rivals did all these for us. So I really appreciate them taking care of that. KSU fan, it looks like. When, he says, will we hear Sandstorm tomorrow night? Which half and time left on the clock?
We won't.
I will say we won't hear it. I don't think we will either.
Probably because he said it will be played as long as the chant is appropriate. This will not be appropriate.
I only see it happening if there's a scenario where at the under 4 timeout, it's tied. K-State's up 2, down 2. KU would just call a timeout. They've got a foul call. This happens to me every show. I get like heartburn.
You need to have a water on, on deck.
But I could see a scenario where if it's that tight late, Gene says, screw it, and just play Sandstorm so the place can go nuts. I think they're going to try not to play it, though. And again, that's a guess. No one's told me that. Gene hadn't told us that. This isn't, us like passive aggressively telling you stuff. We don't know that.
I heard Gene Taylor cuss the other day.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I did too. Because I was talking about me and he wasn't.
No, he was talking about Hazelton's beer.
Right. Was that in College Station?
Yes.
It was. Yeah. It was. Let's move on down here. Another TX best guess for stat lines for tomorrow's game. Wade and Lawson. Well, let's think through this. I predicted a low scoring, 65-59 game, which means I don't think these guys are going off for 30 unless they're scoring half their team's points. I think Lawson will probably have a little more success from a statistical perspective than Wade because I think he'll be counted on to do more of their offense, while a guy like Vic, I think, is a secondary guy, while Brown for K-State will control the ball more. So I think Lawson might have a bigger game statistically. Give me 22 and 8 boards for Lawson. How about 17-7 for Wade? I think Wade will get the win and be more efficient, but a bigger night for me statistically for Diedrich Lawson.
I'll say 24 for Lawson. And honestly, if the more points Lawson scores, it's not necessarily a good thing for KU. It probably means they're getting nothing from anyone else, which means they're struggling on offense like usual. So I wouldn't take that as an alarm of any kind. And for K-State, I think Barry Brown, for some reason, is the one that gets going. So I think Dean's probably in a 12 to 15 range. I think it's going to be Barry. Barry gets in the 20s, I think.
And that's not all bad. Again, if Dean's giving you an efficient 15 and getting the line a little bit, getting some fouls called on Lawson or whatnot, yeah, Dean doesn't have to score 25 tonight for tomorrow night for K-State to win.
Yeah, and I don't think you want Lawson to get in the 30s or anything of that sort. But I just think a sign of him getting 20 or more is probably a sign that K's not getting anything from anyone else.
I would rather lost if I'm K-State. As a journalist here, of course, I don't have a preference in who wins. I would rather see Lawson get 22 on 14, 15, 16 shots, and that's not super efficient. Than see a guy like Vic, of course, go off from 3, or Quentin Grimes get randomly hot from 3, something like that. Because I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, KU needs Vic or Grimes to score a bunch for them to win. And if Lawson's in the 20s, that probably didn't happen. Right.
Good question from Neilio. I think as I read this, he kind of combines them both together. He more or less asked, do the two of us see the offensive line having a similar size in terms of weight to the line at North Dakota State, where Connor Riley was the last offensive line coach? I'm not going to lie to you, Neilio. I don't know. We went and watched him play, and I looked at the roster. I'd be lying if I said I knew the average weight, for the offensive line at North Dakota State, and if K-State's going to get that way. I do know from talking to Connor Riley, and you can add some stuff to this, that the body type they had there is what they'll be looking for a little bit. Now, of course, at a Power 5 level, so they might have a higher standard for it, but they're really going to value length on the offensive line. Like, they're going to look for guys who are 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". They've been a little surprised, kind of off the record about some of the lack of length they've seen, not just from a height, but an arm length perspective from the lineman at K-State. So they want to do some work on that. I know they will value length a lot as far as the actual weight, and size. I've just been poorly prepared and give you a bad answer. So I'm not gonna feed you a line of poo.
Yeah, I think leaner and longer is probably just the way that they would like it, not just the tackles. I think they kind of feel that way across the offensive line. I think that's what we saw from North Dakota State. Taylor Poitier's the one offensive lineman that they've added since they've taken over, and they're trying to land Danielson Ike. And if you look at both of them, they kind of fit that description.
A couple more questions here. Appreciate it. We're looking at 7:45 or so, 15 more minutes, but we'll keep going if there's more questions rolling in. Again, if you're joining us late, we are recording this as an edition of the KSO Show too. The KSO Show is presented by the Tallgrass Tap House at 320 Points in Manhattan. We'll be there Thursday night. Come by. Hopefully we can be talking about, K-State win over Kansas with you guys before we head down to a big trip of Texas. We'll go to Baylor on Saturday, Texas on Tuesday next week. So come see us. Also want to thank Harry's and Bourbon and Baker as well. They're great sponsors. We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
A plug for Tallgrass. I had the cheesesteak for the first time.
Yeah, it's pretty darn good.
It's pretty good. I don't want to talk about it for a long time.
We won't.
But yeah.
We get fried chicken sandwich every time. We've switched it up a little bit. You can too.
Yeah.
We'll get off that and go down back to the questions. Ben, do I pronounce your last name Heitzfeld? I'm going to say Heitzfeld. And if it's wrong, please come in the comments and tell me that I'm way off, because I don't want to offend you or just be flat out wrong on this. What football assistant coach would you most like to have a beer with on both sides of the ball? That's a great question. I'm going to answer it first. Connor Riley on offense.
He's got a crush on him.
I do. Defense. Oh boy. I haven't thought about this as much. I almost want to say, yeah, I was just going to say maybe Scotty Hazelton. I feel like he's going to talk about stuff that I don't know. Like I've never shot a gun. I'm not against it. I've just never done it. I've never gone hunting. I've been fishing like 5 or 6 times. I like that stuff. Just never do it. I think he's gonna make me feel stupid talking about it. He'll be like, "Oh man, you used to manage dicks, so you know about fishing." And then no, I don't. But those are my two. Give me Connor Riley, Scotty Hazelton. Who are you two?
I would probably agree on some of those, but I'll pick a different coach for this part of the question, because I don't think they just want us to be the same.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, offense. Let's think here. I will say Cordy Messicam. I feel like he's
cooler than you would have guessed.
He's cooler than you would guess, and he probably has a ton of stories from his coaching, adventure. So I think that would be a great answer. And on defense, if you can't go Scotty Hazelton, because he is a pretty good answer for this, I'll say Coach Malone. I think he is the one of the more entertaining follows on Twitter among the Kansas State staff.
Definitely.
He loves cat gifts. I think Nats loves Coach Malone because of his cat gifts. So
yep.
I would say Malone and Messingham.
M&M's, Malone and Messingham. That'd be a fun time. I'm sure you could all got together, get after it. A couple of notes. Hitzfeld is pronounced Hitzfeld, not Heitzfeld. Thank you for that. I looked at the bottom to catch that. It's been Hitzfeld. In Flando, just a heads up, all of your texts pop up on our screen. So they haven't been inappropriate yet. We're using Flando's computer for this, and whenever people text him, it pops up on the top right of his screen. I've seen nothing inappropriate, but if you want to warn them.
When they're about to,
we'll
let you know.
that they're popping up on there. So it's totally fine. Totally fine, though. Nothing inappropriate. I'm being sincere. Ning Lu asked, did today's assistant coach media day go as expected? Any surprises? I think you had one. To me, it went as expected. I'll talk through it, but there was maybe one coach that you thought was a little more open, a little more surprising than normal.
Yeah. I thought Coach Klein was a little bit change of demeanor. He's, for better or worse, he was more guarded whenever we talked to him. Now we didn't get to talk to him a bunch. Obviously, we don't need to get into that, at length as it typically gets to that conversation. But I thought he was a little bit more.
Our dog just tried to bite a fly and it terrified us all. We all looked at it immediately.
Yeah. So I think Coach Klein's demeanor, I think, was a little bit more open, less guarded in terms of that. And I thought that, I wouldn't say it's a surprise, but he gave an answer to when I asked him, what players, had kind of taken the lead, taking charge in the offseason when the coaches can't be around as much. And I know I shared it in the notebook, but he mentioned, who did he mention? I'm drawing a blank here. Oh,
well, I wasn't paying attention. I was actually switching the screens to see which one looked better on here.
Oh,
You're talking about Colin Klein again? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, yeah.
The players who were, standing out. Skylar Thompson. The one surprised you was Daquan Patton, Reggie Walker, and Wyatt Hubert.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised on Patton. I obviously heard the other three names. Man, that was great TV when we went blank there.
Right.
But, yeah, the surprise was Patton, but I expected Reggie Walker, Wyatt Hubert, and Skylar Thompson. I think I look different now when that screen changes.
Yeah, you do. So I'm just messing around with the background to see which one looks the best. But yeah, the same for me. It was a great time. It was enjoyable. Cool breakout session, but it's anything surprising, not necessarily. The unique thing, and I think Derek put this in his notes, was Connor Riley's presence. And I'm not just trying to praise Connor Riley the entire show. I will if you let me. But like Derek didn't even talk to Connor Riley today, and he could hear him the entire time. He could probably tell you everything Connor Riley said.
And it's not like he's just
he's not yelling,
crazily loud and yelling. It's just like I feel like he's delivering a passionate speech every time he speaks.
Scott asked, do you have have you received any comment on or off the record from Coach Kleiman in reference to Blake's departure? Honestly, no. Like we get some information from K-State off the record of how they feel about it, which is secondhand from Coach Kleiman, and all of it's pretty positive. Like they don't think the relationship went really, really bad. They believe the reasons for Blake moving were due a lot to family, and there's probably other things that went into it. Let's not pretend that money doesn't matter or title doesn't matter, because it probably does. But I don't get the sense there's a lot of bad blood or that Coach Kleiman is. I don't want to say he's not upset, because he is upset to lose a guy, but I don't think it's a situation where something went really, really wrong or that Coach Kleiman is incredibly upset about it.
Yeah, there's no bad blood. I'll be honest. I've had a conversation with Blake Seiler since he, chose to take the job opening at West Virginia. I just, at this point, I'm not at liberty to share that until after signing day. So, or, Wednesday night even. So that's something maybe to look forward on the site. A little plug there. So I have spoken to Coach Seiler, but I think some of the details of that conversation are intended to be shared until after signing day.
That fly that just tried to get bit by Peter landed on my head. So yeah, that is well said. I know he has some information. Hopefully he can share on that at some point. Neilio asked, was that the lousiest Super Bowl you ever witnessed? I mean, it's pretty bad. I'm sure if I really think about it, I watched all those Bills Cowboys blowouts. I mean, I watched a lot of blowout Super Bowls. So.
I was going to say, at least it was competitive. Right. I know it was low scoring. Everyone wants high scoring. Now that's fine, and high scoring is more entertaining. Let's be real. But at the same time, seeing the Colts clobber the Bears, however many years ago that wasn't exciting.
No, and I tell you what, I do get off my lawn, old man, about the whole high scoring thing. Like a game can be entertaining at 20-17 or 17-14 or 29-28. A score like that can be entertaining. It doesn't have to be 45-41 to be entertaining, but 13-3 or whatever it was, maybe a little bit.
Big 12 fan here doesn't want points anymore.
Well, that's not the thing. Okay, listen, I'm just saying, it's true. I do love the Big 12. I do love points. I'm getting a little bit behind. I'll probably get through this run of questions and we may cut it off. But if I see something really good at the bottom, we'll answer it. Again, if you guys have missed any of this, Flanders will have it all up as a podcast. This is the KSO show. It'll be up tonight on our site. If you've missed anything, don't worry about that. We might even find a way to clip up the live video and put it on the site to people. Members can see it. We just don't want to give this away necessarily yet to non-subscribers. We want to start with, the people who, of course, support our business and make this all possible for us. So we really appreciate that. Interesting from Ning Lu. Interesting you mentioned the new staff was slightly disappointed in the length of the offensive line. Any other insight at the other positions that they were surprised about? I asked that exact question today. I know to Courtney Messingham and to Jason Ray. Messingham told me the wide receivers in a positive way. He thought the group was a little more deep and talented than he had the perception from looking at the roster or what he heard. He's liked what he's seen a little bit. And I asked Jason Ray the same question, and he more or less admitted, like, I don't know. They and that sounds crazy. They spent so much time recruiting and that kind of stuff. They know what they need from a scholarship perspective and numbers wise, but player evaluation of their own roster, they've done virtually none of.
They've been, some of them have only been actually in Manhattan for a full 2 or 3 days. That's how much they've been recruiting since returning.
Jason Ray joked about, they have recruits in for these visits. And so they have the highlight film going on at the same time during those recruiting visits to show the recruits. And he'll catch himself stopping and watching guys to think, oh, is this Isaiah Zuber? He seems pretty good. That's really where it is. Again, they know what they have. They have Taylor Bratt to help, Colin Klein to help. They know what they have from that perspective. It's not hampering their ability to run a program yet. But yeah, right now, they don't know a ton about their players, which is, of course, interesting. Poor Farmer 78. Do you think the NCAA will bring the hammer to KU in the next year or so? DY?
I guess by definition,
and should they?
In terms of hammer, it probably is in the eye of the beholder. If we're penalizing DeSosa for doing whatever he did, KU played a role in that. So if DeSosa is getting penalized, KU should get penalized as well. So I think there's going to be some form of punishment. I don't think any K-State fan will ever probably think that it is enough, but I would be surprised if they didn't get some form of punishment, because while DeSosa is out for this year and next year, that's actually not a punishment to KU. Now, yes, does it hurt them not having DeSosa? Yes, but the penalty is actually being levied against the player in this instance.
Correct. It'll be interesting to see if the NCAA rationalizes to itself, well, we've already punished Kansas by punishing Silvio DeSosa, which is what you just talked about, even though the punishment's not for them, or if they need to do more. Drop the hammer. I'm a K-State fan. I don't like Kansas, so I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it will happen, and it's probably also not warranted, because if you do that, what do you do with Duke? What do you do with North Carolina? What do you do with Kentucky? And I'm not saying KU's better or worse, but I'm saying they're probably all pretty similar. And I think you set a precedent. Well, now we need to go after all the blue bloods that are cheating. And if you want that, hey, more power to you and that kind of thing. But I would suspect at least a less severe penalty. They have to do something, because it's more or less been admitted now in court and by the NCAA that Kansas did something wrong with Silvio DeSosa. They have to do something. But I think if you're expecting a hammer drop, I think you'll be disappointed. Yeah,
if you punish DeSosa, you've already acknowledged that something did happen that wasn't within the rules, obviously. But in terms of hammer, I agree with what you said. And I know everyone wants the hammer to drop on KU, because we all know what kind of stuff is going on at some of these blue blood programs. And I know that some don't want to hear this, but not a lot of it has been proven. Really, if there's only punishment towards DeSosa, that's the only thing that's out in the open. And I don't know if that, demands a terribly harsh punishment if that's the only thing proven.
Exactly. Well said. We all know they've done more than that. We're all not naive. We all know the stories and that kind of stuff. But can the NCAA really, what's the word? Punish them for all those other things that they never really investigated because of this? Probably not. And that's not what you want to hear, and not what I want to say. But it's probably what's gonna happen. Rockabilly Guy says, "Who do you think is the top candidate or candidates to be the new linebacker coach? Is there a GA spot that could be promoted?"
It's DN.
Right. They could, in theory, they could mess around with the title of it and make it something else.
It could be linebacker. They could have 2 linebacker coaches instead of 2 defensive line coaches. I actually said that as soon as the vacancy came open. I've been led to believe it's probably going to go back to the defensive line again for this role. But to be honest, I haven't heard one name yet.
Yeah, same for me. Let's go down here to Dave Irwin. DY. Maybe we should tell our friends about your comment with Blake. That's kind of funny. So, and DY said it to his credit. We're not trying to be we know stuff we're not telling you guys.
I will share. Yeah.
He will share. I will tell you. I don't know if you said this already. Blake asked him to wait. Yes. So I'm just going to come out and say it. Like, he's not trying to tease you with info that he can't give you just to make you feel like he's special, because he's not special for one. Yeah. He will share it. It's nothing is bad. It's all actually, when I heard it, I said, dude, just share that. It's not that bad. But Blake did ask him to wait. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to wait on that. So hopefully that makes you guys even more annoyed with us. Pan Jandrum's in here. Can you move this until after my kids go to bed? I'm watching this while my daughter watches YouTube videos. I'm now a bad parent. Shame on you. I'm a bad parent too.
Is she having fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can do like a sing along.
Right. Oh boy, we can get our dog on here. So yeah, we might go later night. This again. I don't know. You're kind of half joking, but we may try. We're going to do 8 o'clock at first. May go 9 o'clock sometimes. We want this to be a work in progress and see what people like and how they like it. So if you guys want it to be later, guys and gals want it to be later, let us know, and we're not opposed to doing it. Going to move down to fan funniest moment anecdote from the Stillwater trip. Bosco Boys pod was very funny.
I have one.
Yeah, you go. You go.
It's probably not one of the funnier ones, but the one that jumped on me. We downloaded NBA Jam
Absolutely
from 2011 on the Xbox One.
$10.
And me and Flando won a game in NBA Jam, and everyone knows in NBA Jam it's hard to blow anyone out by more than 5.
It is.
It's incredibly hard.
Yes.
And I know we played 2 other people. One of them didn't know how to play the game.
Never played before.
The
other was Kellis Robinette.
Yeah, this guy and Kellis. And this guy, we told him how to play a lot, but it didn't get through to him until about the 3rd quarter. But we won 100-54. It's
true. They did. And these are, 3-minute NBA Jam quarters that go like this. So to score 100 is hard. Mine is also NBA Jam related. We had a lot of trash talk that night. I think it was late Saturday night after K-State had beat Oklahoma State. Flando and DUI were just cruising in NBA Jam and they beat me and Mason too, for the record. Mason and I won an opportunity to play him again for what we called the Team of the Night trophy. Mason and I won by 3 in a very, very close game. Mason and I proceeded to talk trash at a very high level for about 45 to 50 minutes after the game. About 40 minutes into it, at 1 a.m, Kellis says, "Who are you guys even talking trash to anymore?" Because no one was looking at us. They're all looking at
Flando left the room.
Flando wasn't in the room anymore. And Mason and I are standing in the front of the TV at the NBA Jam, just going on and on about how great we are. So I thought that was the funniest moment personally.
It was a great trip.
It was a really good time. We enjoyed it. We got to interact with the Boscos. Kellis came over. We yelled at all the media, man. If you guys want to come over and hang out, we would love to have you, because it is fun. I don't know, to have some excitement those nights. I'm going to move on a little bit here to Neilio. I'm probably going to end at Rockabelly's question here at the bottom right now. So when we get to the last, so I'm just going to ask no more questions right now. It's 8 o'clock. If you have more that you desperately wish you could have asked them on the board, and we'll answer on there. We're never going to ignore a question from you guys, but no more new ones for this. Again, last time I'll say this, if you're coming in late, check it all out on the podcast. Flanders will put up. You won't miss a single question on there. So we're going to go down to Neilio. I know we've been talking about bringing in backs due to the depth of 19, but does Grayson have any shot at being a red shirt? I'll throw my opinion out, then I want to hear yours better. I would think so. The red shirt rule, I see a question about that coming up, and I have an answer for that too. But the red shirt rule could impact it, though. They're going to have what we just talked about, 4, 5, 6 backs they could use. They have 4 games they can use and still maintain red shirts on most all of them. I think there's a real chance a couple of those guys could red shirt if they realize at some point, hey, Burns, Gilbert, I'm just going to make up names, Burns, Gilbert, Irvin, and even Jax to an extent or whatever can handle the load for us. Let's try to keep red shirts on 4 games, for Price and Grayson. I guess long answer is short. I think it's totally possible.
Yeah, I have a similar answer. It will depend, and this is going to answer a question that I saw later on how they will use the 4-game redshirt rule.
Right.
And to answer that question, we haven't asked that. We should, and there'll probably be a question we should ask on Wednesday, signing day, how he plans to use that 4-game rule. But I'm working on the what it means, our analysis piece on Thomas Grayson. Right now it's taking me forever to write for some reason. But I posed in there that I believe that Joe Irvin probably has his red shirt burned. And this is just a prediction by me. I'll probably get proven wrong in about 7 months. But I think Joe Irvin burns his red shirt. And if I had to guess, Thomas Grayson is the one that would play 4 games and keep it.
Well said. The red shirt thing, I'm with Dio. I haven't asked. I will say, I remember it was asked in Frisco by a reporter from not even necessarily asked. What stuck in my head was that there was a question about depth or something like that. I think Chris Kleiman voluntarily brought up the new redshirt rule helped him with depth this year. And I thought to myself right away, there's a staff who's going to take advantage of this to use guys for a certain number of games to help them out for depth. Now they're 63 scholarships in FCS against 85 here. Maybe there's not the desire to do that when you change, but I got the sense this is a group of guys who's going to understand that rule and try to use it to their advantage. Something just popped over there.
That's my thumb.
Okay, to have more depth at a position. So I think they're going to be aware of how to use it and maybe take more advantage of it than K-State did a year ago. Dave was just helping us with our Tell Your Friends plug, which he did a fantastic job of.
Yeah.
And I also saw Dave at the bottom saying you could ask questions on Twitter and I'll be all over it. I can do that too, man. And if I'm not going to make that joke, but if I answer questions on Twitter, you know what I'm doing. That's a bit of a joke right there. So
We're,
I got burned today when I was in Old Chicago working, is the point. I went to the bathroom and I answered a question on Twitter, and Flanders says, Where'd you do that from? And it was really funny.
good pooping.
That's what he said. Yeah. We got poop out there. So good.
We entertained Panjandrum's daughter. That's good.
Talking toys. Yeah. My son is 8. You know, he would love to have a show where he talks toys. He asked me once a week, he's like, Dad, can I go on your show and open a pack of Pokemon cards or talk toys? And I say, no, they don't want to see it, Red. And he says, okay. I'm not usually that mean about it.
What
but
about was it last night he came in? He just got out of the shower. It's like, it's what he was thinking about the entire time in the shower. Talked about robots like take over the world.
He did. And we look up his Alexa thing. And the 3 questions he asked Alexa last night were like, can robots take over the world? Who crop dusted? And fart were the 3 questions.
What about the one with the monsters?
And then he had a 4th. He said, are there monsters in the real world? Wait, never mind.
Just kidding. Stop.
It said, just kidding. Stop. He realized mid-question in the shower.
He didn't want the answer.
That he wanted to not know the answer about real monsters. I love that he started it. He's like, no, don't tell me. Just don't tell me about that. Red just tuned in. Great. So Red's on right now. Fantastic. He will come in sometime. He's at swim practice right now. And I just
tuned in. He's not at swimming practice right now.
Well, that's true. It's probably over. I don't know what time it is. They're coming home. So let's get through these. I apologize that we've talked about personal stuff for a little bit. I want to get back to K-State. We'll wrap it up. Rockabilly Guy. This is probably the last question that we will answer tonight. I appreciate all the praise that you guys gave. It's really, really cool. We'll do this a lot more, and it'll be better going forward. We won't be stumbling as much as I am right now, so I apologize for that. Last question. What is your favorite road game town to visit and the best bar in that town? I think Flando, we've been since KSO started, we have been to Morgantown, Lawrence, Waco, Fort Worth, Stillwater, Norman.
We've been everywhere but Lubbock.
We've been everywhere but Lubbock. I've been to Lubbock in my past media experiences a few times. So we've been everywhere. I have. Yeah, we have. You haven't. We're going to be in Austin next week.
Austin's probably the most fun because there's more to do.
Yeah. There is. I just feel like Austin. Austin's the cliche answer.
It is
like,
the cliche. It's not necessarily a college town.
Right.
It's a city. Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's just So for me, and you have a bar in Austin you've been to in particular. He has best bar.
No, we almost missed the game. So.
Yeah, that's true. Him and Jeff. When they say almost missed the game, like they missed some of it, I believe. So they succeeded in that. So
I'll be honest. I think we had the most fun in Frisco.
Probably. Oh, what was that bar we went to? Best bar. So in Frisco, but not for the Big 12 or not for the FCS championship, but for the Big 12 tournament or the Big 12 media days. There was a bar across the street, Granite Cowboy or something like that. Was it called the Granite Cowboy? Oh my gosh, this is a great answer for you. I'm sorry. I will look it up.
Across from the Ford Center.
It's across from the Ford Center. That's not a college town. Best bar in a college town. We haven't gone out much, man.
It's funny. They asked about the college town and we gave them Frisco.
We gave you Frisco because we don't go out like at all.
We went out in Fort Worth.
Austin. We will go out.
We went out in Fort Worth.
Okay, I got one. The coolest place we were this year was the Twisted Root in Waco. Yeah. It was like a warehouse feel and hamburger place that had, if you want it, like alcohol in milkshakes, if you want to do that kind of thing. I would say Waco's not my favorite at all, but my favorite place I've gone to. And just an establishment would be the Twisted Root.
I think we had some good times in Fort Worth.
I loved Fort Worth too.
Fort Worth was fun. I think we might have had some because maybe I was just in the mood for some different barbecue, but we had some really good food in Stillwater.
Probably the best, right? The 2 places we went there. So yeah, I appreciate you asking that. I just want to say thanks so much for the participation, for you all working through this with us as we do this. We're going to do this probably 2 times a month. One will probably be unique just to KSO subscribers. You can only come into this if we give you a link on the board. We'll probably then do one a month that is open to anyone, and we'll have fun with it. It'll be good for getting people to see your guys' questions and our answers, but we'll also be careful and won't give out premium information that you guys pay for free. So thanks to Grant Flanders for all the work he did getting this set up for us. He sat on the couch and did nothing the whole time. To Derek Young for the advice and information he could share to you all. We wrap up the KSO show presented by Tallgrass Tap House. We always mess this last part up. We say 3 words.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Tell your friends. Thank you for watching. Still awkwardly on in stream. Are you sure?